I said to you, Jim, don't rule out Nuno Espírito Santo. And those noises when it comes to Nuno and a possible return to Molineux are certainly getting louder this morning. He's made it clear to the Wolves hierarchy, Nuno, that he is interested in making what would be a bit of an emotional return for him. I think the interest is being driven from the Nuno side, from George Mendes. We know very powerful influence in the corridors of power at Molineux, and they've gone so far now, Nuno's people, Mendes and his associates, to actually flying to Saudi Arabia. He's only been in a job over there a matter of months, Nuno Espírito Santo, but his people are speaking to his club over there at Etihad about the possibility of coming to an agreement to terminate that 2-year contract early, paving the way for a return to the Premier League and a return to Wolves.
My goodness, Alex, stay with it. I mean, Simon, it never fails to amaze me in this industry. How could Nuno Espírito Santo not be good enough some time ago, but suddenly reappears in the scene and this time could be good enough again?
Well, it's perplexing because my understanding of it is that it reached a point where they just about had enough of one another. And, you know, Wolves were quite happy to see the back of him, albeit they'd done a great job taking him out of the Championship, putting him as almost a pseudo-established Premier League club. But it's like if you only have one idea, then you tend to revert to that first idea, don't you? And maybe, possibly, potentially, there's a person that's got too much influence at that club. But then we're saying that this club was languishing over a period of time without much achievement. It's now an established Premier League football club. It's having a difficult time right now. And maybe they feel that having looked around and being rebuffed by Lopetegui, and there's not that many options out there, they can't talk to people like Thomas Tuchel. They're not at that level. The people like Thomas Tuchel that could be possibly linked to jobs like Wolverhampton Wanderers ain't going to go there anytime soon. So maybe it's the devil that you know best when you've got a particular problem. But for him and for the club that have just taken him to Saudi, I should imagine they're thrilled. But they're just giving you a 2-year deal.
They might be asking the question, have Wolves got better since he left? Do you think they have, Jim?
Last year, for a period of time, they categorically did.
Definitely, Simon's right on that. For a period of time under Bruno Lage, they did
but
look
he never
the business.
Quite. It was threatened. Even the very first 2-3 games of the season last year, 20-odd shots, changed the system.
Yeah.
Didn't quite work, at the back of the net. And that's been the problem this year.
The problem here, Martin, is if he comes back, as Alex is suggesting, it's only a suggestion at the moment he's interested in coming back, he's going to come back in the knowledge, I was number 2 choice. Maybe he wasn't even number 2 choice because Lopetegui was top of the queue.
I don't think he's bothered by that. I think he's coming home again, isn't it? He went to Spurs, won the first 3 games of the season. Then it was an absolute disaster for him. He's gone abroad now to manage. He just wants to come home. He wants to just pick up the level. Sometimes you appreciate things, Jim. You think the grass is greener elsewhere. You go elsewhere. It didn't work for him. Maybe it hasn't worked for Wolves as well. So it's maybe it's a period of consolidation for the club. Maybe it works for both the club and for the former manager.
He can't be the only name in the list, surely, Alex. Who else are we hearing?
Well, I think Simon's hit the nail on the head, actually, when he talked about a lack of viable alternatives. You've mentioned Julian Lopetegui. He was clearly the first choice. Unfortunately, due to personal circumstances surrounding the health of his dad, he decided that now wasn't the right time. Pedro Martins has been mentioned a lot, I think, because of his connection with Wolves' Portuguese players. That has been categorically ruled out to me. Pedro Martins isn't on Wolves' list of replacements. We know they've interviewed Rob Edwards. I would suggest respectfully it's probably too big a step up for him at this stage, despite his connection
no appetite
with
for
the
Sean
football club.
Dyche, Crookie.
Well, Sean Dyche is interesting if they did decide to go down the British route, and obviously the fact they've interviewed Rob Edwards suggests that maybe that is a school of thought, but it's not really the way that Wolves have done it, is it? They've been heavily influenced by George Mendes, as you say. Whether that is right or not is open to conjecture, but they did have 2 7th-place finishes back-to-back under Nuno Espírito Santo. They've reached a European quarter-final, an FA Cup semi-final, and you've got to say, by and large, their link with George Mendes has been more positive than it's been negative. So I do think he's going to have a big say in this, and therefore I don't think they'll go down the British route. So at the moment, I would say there's a good chance that Nuno gets the job. What I can tell you, it won't happen before this weekend. They play Nottingham Forest, big game at the bottom of the Premier League. That they'll keep their caretaker team in charge and then really look to ramp up a permanent appointment next week.
Alex, thank you very much. Alex Crook with us this morning with the news that Nuno Espírito Santo seemingly keen to return to Wolves. Simon, is it a case of better the devil you know?
There's an element of that, isn't it? Because ultimately, as Alex alludes to, they had a very forward-moving direction of travel under Nuno, and I was surprised. I mean, I hear various things about him that he can be quite a politically difficult person to manage and deal with. And whilst he appears to be all sanguine and easy on the ear when he's talking to the media, he can be quite pithy and difficult behind the scenes. But that's the football industry. It tells certain things and not always are they accurate. But there was a sentiment that surprised me that ultimately he was just basically let go, wasn't he? Of Wolves?
Yes.
It was his contract ran down.
Right.
They don't fancy you anymore, and that's the end of that discussion. Now, to go back again, sometimes you look at it and go, well, what was I thinking of? I thought I'd try something different because there was an alternative. I would imagine that George Mendes was in between the two stalls, wasn't he? He's got the guy that Bruno Lage would have been probably directly related to him because he's Portuguese. He's got Nuno Espírito Santo, so they're going around in this ever-decreasing orbit. I don't think it's a bad choice. I think he'll go back in there and probably do a solid job.
Did you ever go back for the same guy? Did you do that in your time at Palace when you found yourself, as you did at numerous occasions, in complete disarray?
Self-inflicted, yeah.
Sorry, I've just been pithy.
But
telling the truth, Jim.
No, I went into spaces where I thought. Are you two amusing yourselves? Are you? I went into spaces where I thought, because of associations with the club, there might be a fit there. Peter Taylor being that classic case in point, and I couldn't have been more wrong. Look, you make decisions because you think what's in front of you are the right decisions to make, and Nuno Espírito Santo has been proven at Wolves. The same problems will come back again. If they had a problem with him at the end, they'll come back again.
Safe pair of hands.
Yeah, I would think so.
Just to bring him back.
Well, he was a goalkeeper.
There's no acclimatization. It's getting worse today, isn't it?
It is. Let's take a... I know, well, look what I'm seeing. One or two Wolves fans getting in touch already. Felt it was too soon, really. Oh, yeah, no, sorry. I beg your pardon. I'm misreading that one. I would love to see Nuno back. I felt it was too soon, says this Wolves fan. It was too soon because he was doing a good job. You bet we'd re-embrace him. Okay, fair enough. Does that one fan speak for all of you? 03717 223344 81089. Wolves, if Nuno is coming back, would you welcome the idea? Would you want to see it? You can get in touch this morning. It's Friday morning. We're live on talkSPORT.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.